90.7 WTCC. Good morning. Welcome to the Spoken Word. I'm your host, Bishop Talbert Swan II. And as usual, we'll be telling it like it is through cultural idioms and nuances that shape the order, ethos, and chaos of the African American experience. Words have their own vitality. They shape their own consciousness, create their own context for interpreting social and spiritual reality. Spoken word contains the power to reshape the landscape of society. It is 4 minutes past the hour of 9 a.m. I want to welcome everyone in the Pioneer Valley and beyond who are listening to us this morning on WTCC. Certainly to all of those in Massachusetts and Connecticut and Vermont and all points here in New England that are catching us live on 90.7. And for all of those who are catching us over the internet on all of our social media platforms, good morning to you all. Good morning. I see them from Ethiopia on YouTube and various places. So rep your city, rep your town. If you're on social media, let me know where you're coming in from. Definitely love to know where my audience is listening from. So good morning to all of you. Rep your city, rep your town. We'll throw out some shout outs in a little bit. Facebook, Periscope, Instagram is in the house. YouTube is in the house. All y'all are in the house. Listen, I got some stuff I want to talk about today. There's renewed efforts at voter suppression. They're mad at the way y'all voted. Y'all had the nerve, the unmitigated gall, the audacity to vote Trump out of office. And they mad about it. So Republicans all over the nation right now are engaged in voter suppression tactics to make sure that those of you who came out to get the Klansman, the son of a Klansman out of office, that it's going to be harder for y'all to vote next time around come the midterms. They want the House back. They want the Senate back. And they know they can't get it back through the vote because they're going to get the typical vote. They're going to get 60% of the white male vote. They're going to get 55% of the white female vote. But America is getting browner and browner. And so they know that in order to win it back, they've got to suppress the votes of you black people and you brown people. And so that's what they're doing right now. They're engaging in voter suppression tactics. Want to talk a little bit about the coronavirus vaccine, particularly among the African-American population. There's some disturbing news, they say, if black folk don't start getting vaccinated at a higher clip. I'll tell you what they say. You make up your own mind. We had a forum yesterday. The women in the NAACP sponsored a forum that really dealt with everything around the vaccine. And you can go to our Facebook page, Greater Springfield NAACP Facebook page, if you want to check that out. What I say unto everybody is to get the information and make an informed decision. I'm not standing in judgment one way or another, whatever decision someone makes in terms of their body and how they feel about it. But get the information. Don't get caught up in conspiracy theories and all of that kind of stuff. And yes, black folk have a right to be skeptical, to be non-trusting of the medical establishment. We've said over and over again, but we'll talk about that. And then if we have time, I want to go over these executive orders that President Biden has been signing And my consternation about him is black folk got him in office, but he's signing executive orders to help everybody and their mama, hunchbacks, one-legged people, but there's nothing specifically for black people. And I know people are going to say, he signed an executive order on racial equity. Everybody is in that. Read it. Don't just, see, here's the problem with our folk. Our folk live off of sound bites that they put out on television, but they don't do the research and read. If you had just read the racial equity executive order, everybody and their mama's in there. Seriously. Transgendered, LGBTQIA, the disabled, Asians, Pacific Islanders. That's not specifically for black people. And I'm not talking about a rising tide lifts all boats kind of executive order that helps a group of 57 different demographics. I'm talking about specifically for black people, the ones that were responsible for giving him Atlanta and thus Georgia, Detroit and thus Michigan, Philadelphia and thus Pennsylvania. I mean, come on, y'all. Let's just keep it a buck. It was black people who did that. Black people who gave him Detroit, gave him Philly, gave him Atlanta, gave him Milwaukee and thus Wisconsin, 4 swing states. So let's just keep it 100 that if you're going to sign 40 some odd executive orders, something ought to be to benefit black people specifically. All right? 413-337-1867. 413-337-1867. Stay with us. We're going to be right back. Don't you touch that dial. Tell a friend, tell somebody the bishop is on the air. Let's get it in.
I look in the mirror and I like what I see. A strong, beautiful black woman staring back at me. One who's seen a lot of pain and had her share of sorrow, but who never gave up hope for a brighter tomorrow. I've been lied to, cheated on, stolen from and hit, but it just made me stronger and I refuse to quit. That's right. And though I've been tempted, I refuse to stoop to their level. Don't go down. I rose above that nonsense and made a liar of the devil. All right now. The devil who said I wasn't good enough, cute enough, or worthy of love, I kicked his butt with divine power from above. Power that says I can do all things through Christ, which strengthens me and brought me out of darkness so that I could see that I'm smart, I'm beautiful, I'm a child of the King. Abundant love for me, he came to bring. Oh yes, when I look in the mirror, I love what I see. She's looking good. That strong, beautiful black woman, that woman is me.
A positive attitude says everything about you. Attitude is a little thing that makes a big difference. Every day you get up, you've been given a gift. That's why they call it the present. And it's up to you of how you unwrap it. So yesterday is history, tomorrow's a mystery, today is a gift. So don't let the pain of your past bleed into your present and poison your future. Stop replaying the movie. Why did this happen to me? When it's done with you, be done with it. If it seems like you keep running to pigeons, it's an indication that you're flying too low. So set your sights a little higher. Remember, eagles fly by themselves. If you can see the invisible, you can do the impossible. Allow your challenges to be a stepping stone to propel you into new possibilities. So be discontent with past accomplishment. You're only as great as your last success. So maintain your hunger and your passion. Remember this, within every seed there is a tree. In every tree there is a force. Doing what you were born into is simply the environment to prepare you for your ultimate purpose. It was not a setback, it was a setup. Your purpose potential is bigger than your past pain or problem.
The talk that he gave to you. Listen to your heart, don't let your mind fool you. Remember the talk that he gave to you. Whatever you do is gonna shoot back to you.
Successful people will do the things they hate to get things they love. Much of life is about sacrifice. You gotta give up something to get something. Success is not about what you've accomplished, but it's what you have overcome. For it's the test that you pass in life which qualifies you for the next level. You have to be willing to face your challenges and overcome them. Most people drive 12,000 miles a year moving forward, but most accidents are caused when they move backwards. You gotta stay focused on what's ahead of you instead of what's behind you. It's your daily routine that determines your success or failure. Whatever you practice at is what you become great at. What's more important than being intelligent is having the right attitude. Respect costs you nothing, but it will cost you everything not to have it. So don't be too smart for your own good. Remember, a hard head makes a soft behind. What's more important than your five senses is common sense. The heart of a fool is in his mouth, but the heart of a wise man is in his character. So those small things. The answer for short temper is a long walk. Be slow to speak, quick to listen, and remember this: you haven't lived long enough to know everything. Your character is what matters most. Once you have been labeled with a bad reputation, it's hard for people to see you any other way. A good name is worth more than all the money in the world. Your life is broken up into three parts. First you learn, then you earn, and then you return. You gotta get back.
Talk to me, talk to me, daddy. Talk to me, daddy. I need to know how to be a man. So many things I don't know.
All right. Talk to me. 90.7 WTCC. Coming up half past the hour. State House update by our state senator, Eric Lesser. So remember that. I've got to get the skinny on the Black History Month celebration. I'm making an assumption that it is postponed based on the weather. However, we'll see if we can get State Representative Bud Williams on the line and see if we can confirm that one way or another. It's supposed to be held at City Hall today at 1 o'clock. But we got a nor'easter happening out there. And my assumption is it may not happen today. But I want to confirm that. So State Rep, if you're listening, 413-337-18 67. Or somebody shoot him a text or something. Tell him, hit Bishop up so we can know what the dilly is, okay? All right. So listen, there are renewed voter suppression efforts going on literally across the nation. The GOP is reeling from this election. They got replaced in the executive branch by Trump being ousted. The House maintained leadership. And then with those two seats in Georgia, they took control of the Senate. And so what they're doing in state houses across the country, they're moving swiftly to attack some of the voting methods that basically fueled the 2020 election, which was the highest turnout for a presidential election in 50 years, right? And even though most legislative sessions are literally just getting underway, the Brennan Center for Justice, which is a public policy institute, they've already tallied that there are more. Now, check it out. Now, you know, the legislative session started in January. We're only in February 1st. Happy Black History Month, by the way. But they've already tallied more than 100 bills in 28 states, in more than half the states, okay, that are meant to restrict voting access. 100 different bills in 28 states. So that, I mean, so that means literally they're like trying an average of 5 bills per state, trying to restrict voting access. And more than a third of those proposals are aimed at limiting, you guessed it, mail-in voting. They don't want mail-in voting because those of you who don't vote for white supremacists take advantage of mail-in voting. They're like, no, man, we got crushed in mail-in voting. In some states, up to 85% of the mail-in votes were against Republicans. So they're saying we're going to restrict this voting next time around, come 2022. We're not going to have this problem because we'll stop these N-words. We're going to stop these Latinos. We're going to stop everybody who is likely to not vote for us. We're going to make it more difficult for them to vote. So they want to strengthen voter ID requirements. They want to make the registration process more difficult. They want to allow for a more aggressive means to remove people or to purge the voter rolls, take you off the roll if you miss an election or something like that. Make it more difficult for you to vote. And we're seeing some politicians who want to manipulate the rules of the game so some people can participate and some people can't. I mean, that's the bottom line. These proposals are advancing in Texas and other traditional red states, in Arizona. You know they're advancing in Georgia, in Pennsylvania. You know, all the states that supported Donald Trump 4 years ago, but then voted against him in 2020 and flipped. All of those states are like, no, man, we got to stop these people from voting. So y'all be on the lookout, man. I'm telling you, we knew it was coming. We knew it was coming. We knew it was coming. And it's here already. They're like, nah, this ain't going to happen. We're going to stop. And here's the problem. If this Congress, if this Democrat-controlled Congress House, Senate, and executive branch does not strengthen or reinstate the Voting Rights Act, we're going to be in big trouble. Remember now, they neutered the Voting Rights Act, took away its enforcement in 2013. The Supreme Court did. There's a proposal on the table, the John Lewis Voting Rights Act, to strengthen the Voting Rights Act or to reinstate its enforcement. And see, without its enforcement, all of these extemporaneous, draconian voting, restrictive voting bills that these Republicans in the state legislatures are proposing can get passed without any pre-clearance from the feds. And if they're unconstitutional, you have to go through the long, arduous process of going to court. That could take longer than the 2022 election to make its way through the court system. So they're trying to make sure y'all cannot vote. Y'all will not get mail-in voting or any of that kind of stuff. Now, they claim that the new bills are meant to shore up public confidence because this election was stolen. Nonsense. Nonsense. It's meant to suppress. It's nothing but Jim Crow 2.0. That's all. That's all. Jim Crow got a lot of grandchildren that are in elected office. Jim Crow has grandchildren in every state legislature. He's got grandchildren in Congress, in the House and the Senate. Jim Crow got grandchildren all over the place that are trying to bring back Jim. Trying to bring back the days when black folk couldn't vote or they were too scared to go to the polls and vote. And they're claiming that there was voter fraud, even though Trump's own administration, this is what gets me. Republicans in Trump's administration, appointed by Trump to monitor the election, said that the 2020 presidential election was the most secure in American history. This is what Republicans said. They can't even agree in their own party. Their people said that's not Democrats saying that and Republicans disagreeing. Republicans said this was the most secure election in history. But yet, they're trying to pass laws to make it difficult next time around. Yeah. Oh, it's crazy. It's crazy. And I get it because nearly 70% of the ballots in this past election came before Election Day. It was either early voting or mail-in voting. So, of course, they're going to attack mail-in voting and early voting because it's the people who don't vote for them who are more likely to take advantage of mail-in voting or early voting. There was 108 million people who voted through the mail. 108 million people who voted through the mail or early in-person voting or dropping off absentee ballots. That's the number that they're targeting. That's the number they want to drastically reduce, feeling like they can definitely take advantage of the election if they're able to wipe us from the voter rolls, stop us from early voting, stop us from absentee voting, and stop us from mail-in voting. That's what they're doing. But what do you expect? That's how they get down. Good morning, caller.
Hey, Reverend Swan, how are you?
I'm good. How you doing?
Good. I wanted to talk about the COVID.
All right.
And seemed like they didn't plan this right. Didn't they know this was going to be a logistical nightmare? And then I was reading countries like Israel who have stockpiles, and they stay on top of it.
They got stockpiles of what? Of the vaccine?
Yeah.
Okay.
And now, when you look at whites, the Asians, the black, and the Latino, more whites are getting vaccinated at a higher rate.
Yeah.
And then I heard you had them coming into the Latino community. Did you hear that?
No, I didn't hear anything about going into the Latino community. But let me read something. This is what one doctor put out. And like I said to folks, do the research, get your own information. But this is what, and I'm going to have Professor Peter Hotez, who's a medical doctor. I'm going to have him on this radio program to talk about this. But he says this. He says, if actual rates of vaccine hesitancy among African American communities remain unchanged from what is reported, it portends disaster as the new UK, Brazil, and African variants become widespread in the spring. There will be historic decimation of Black communities across America. This is what he's saying. Historic decimation of Black communities if they are hesitant to take the vaccine, and these different variants that are happening in other countries he said they will be more widespread by the spring, in the next couple of months in America. And if we're still not getting vaccinated, he said there's going to be historic decimation of the Black community.
Isn't our reluctancy related to the syphilis?
Yeah, it's Henrietta Lacks, the Tuskegee experiment. We have legitimate reason to not trust the medical industry for sure. But these are the predictions that they are having, because they're saying that these new strains of the virus are more contagious and more deadly. And if we're not getting vaccinated, it's going to decimate the Black community worse than it already has.
Do you think they gave us, because this is about information as far as I'm concerned, something like this happening in terms of notifying, especially our communities, our leaders, yada, 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 to give them the information, just like COVID, with the COVID, in terms of ahead of time. Do you think there's not enough information being put out to our communities?
Yeah. I think there's a lot of, there's a lack of information, and then there's a lot of misinformation also being put out as well. So, like I said, I keep encouraging people, please do the research, please get the information. Whatever decision you make, that's between you, your family, and what your beliefs are about it, and that's fine. But make it based. I just want people to make an informed decision rather than Cousin Pookie said it was the man trying to kill Black people. Cousin Pookie ain't no expert, okay? Get the information, and if you still feel that way after you get the information, then make your decision on that. Just don't make your decision based on hearsay and gossip and misinformation. That's all.
Yeah, because I heard some elderly, the seniors in cities like Atlanta, who was reluctant to get the shot.
Right.
So I guess it's your own responsibility and get the information, but it relates to racism.
Yeah. Absolutely.
If you look at where we live, especially the inner cities, with the high rises, we on top of each other.
Yeah.
That has an enormous effect. And then you got our essential workers, hotel workers, retail workers. You're right there with the public. And then lastly, like I said, the information. Those three things, I think, led to where we're at today. So keep doing what you're doing. You're doing a good job. I love listening to you. I'm Buzz Brother, Richard.
All right. Good to hear from you. Thank you, man.
So, Yeah, man, I tune into you every week, man. You're absolutely fabulous.
Thank you, sir. Thanks for listening.
Okay, have a good day.
All right, you too. 413-337-1867. Let me bring Senator Lesser on the air, get our State House update, and then we'll come back to our conversation around coronavirus.
Morning, Bishop. Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
All right. How are you? Happy Monday. Happy Black History Month. And it's the first of the month, and it's Monday. I think that's the first time in maybe two and a half years of this the Monday, the first Monday of the month, is also the first of the month.
Yeah,
piece of trivia.
Sure. What's good with you?
Well, it's just vaccine right now. I mean, I heard the caller just before me. There's good news and there's concerning news in the vaccine rollout. The good news is that we are now in phase 2, but there's been a lot of issues with the rollout in Massachusetts, and unfortunately, I know
And there's been
people.
Sorry, there's been some shortages.
Yeah, exactly. And Massachusetts, unfortunately, normally being a healthcare leader, is actually at near the bottom of the pack for states in terms of vaccine distribution. And we've been having some tense conversations, frankly, with the governor's team and with the Department of Public Health about that. We do have the Eastfield Mall location, open now for Western Mass residents, but they can only do about 500 doses a day at this point, which is nowhere near obviously where it needs to be to get everybody vaccinated. So that's really been our focus. And Bishop, on that, there's two elements to the vaccine rollout. One is the number of doses that we get from the federal government, and we don't have a lot of control over that. Thankfully, we have the Biden administration in now that's doing a much better job at communicating with the states about the number of doses that are available. But once the doses are in Massachusetts, it's the responsibility of the governor and the Department of Public Health to distribute those and to put out the eligibility criteria. And that's been, frankly, pretty messy right now. It hasn't been user accessible.
In phase 2, who are those that are eligible? And then I actually sent something to the COVID-19 advisory council. I'll tell you about it in a moment. But why don't you tell the listeners who's covered in phase 2?
Yeah, so it's important first to people to acknowledge that, or to know that the phases are cumulative, right? So if you were eligible in phase 1, it's not like your eligibility gets cut off now in phase 2. It's new people, new kind of categories of people that are added. So phase 1, of course, was frontline healthcare workers, people who were, first it was the direct COVID-facing healthcare workers, nursing home staffs, congregate care staff, first responders, EMS crews, police, firefighters, those types of direct care and direct service providers. Phase 2, most relevant probably for the general public, is everybody 75 or older, and then it will expand as the doses become available to people 65 or older, first with 2 comorbidities or 2 kind of underlying conditions, and then scaling down eventually to 1 comorbidity, and then everyone 65 and older. But right now, today, February 1, if you live in Massachusetts and you're over the age of 75, no matter what, it doesn't matter what you do for work, whether you're retired, whether you're remote work or in person, if you're 75 or older, you qualify to get that vaccine. Now, that's a very different question than whether or not we've got enough doses available for everybody that qualifies.
Right. So when they were just determining priority categories, frontline workers, medical professionals, so on and so forth, we sent something to them about the clergy, because I said, wait, now the clergy are still counseling, comforting the sick. They're still going into funeral homes. They're still performing last rites. They're still burying the dead. A number of services that are still being provided that puts them at risk. And so my question to the governor's team was, why are we not mentioned anywhere? You know,
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
when all these people are dying of COVID-19, it's us you call on to comfort the families, to bury the dead, et cetera, et cetera. Maybe we ought to be somewhere, you know.
I saw your letter to the editor in the paper yesterday. It was in the Springfield Republican. So, I mean, has anyone responded to you? I'd be curious. Does anyone from the government?
I just got a generic, response email from their email, but no one specifically has responded. And I know the Mass Council of Churches and other religious groups have also been reaching out, kind of making the case as well.
Right. Yeah. Well, I mean, what I'll say to that is there's a lot of, frankly, frustration that I feel about how the eligibility was put in place, because I think some of the criteria is obvious, right? I mean, I think everyone would acknowledge that nurses, doctors, hospital staff right on the front line where COVID positive patients are being cared for needed to be first. Everyone certainly is in unanimous support of that. But then the farther we get out from that kind of very frontline question, frankly, the more arbitrary some of these distinctions have become, and they raise real questions. And, the legislature never voted on this criteria. There was no plan that was put in front of us, and there was no opportunity for debate. There was no opportunity for amendment the way a normal law or bill happens. It's all being done through emergency declaration, and it's being funded largely through the federal coronavirus aid packages that have been passed in Congress. So even in terms of power of the purse string, the legislature has limited role. But I'll tell you, there are big categories. Clergy, I would argue, is one that have been left out. I would also say, teachers. We've got to get schools reopened. This is a very important issue for our young people, for our families. Getting the teachers vaccinated and making sure it's safe for teachers, really important. Another one you mentioned, Bishop, working with funerals. Funeral home workers were left out as well in the initial phase, and they made
and I'm trying to figure out how that one got left out.
Yeah, I mean, they made a compelling case to me, I got to say. Multiple funeral home directors in the region called me when that happened, and they said, look, we go into the nursing homes, we're handling, not to get morbid here, but we're handling COVID-19, bodies, and our staffs and our teams are working very closely with the healthcare sector and with nurses and others to get the bodies prepared. I mean, it felt like a compelling argument to me. So, it's concerning. I mean, some of this is a symptom of we just don't have enough doses yet, and we've got to get the manufacturing beefed up. And I do feel confident that Biden will make that the priority that it needs to be. But we've got to do a better job in Massachusetts. The numbers are not good right now, and the statistics don't lie. I think about 51% of the total doses that the feds have given us have actually been put into people's arms. That is really way behind what other states are at, and it's way behind what our peer states, including a lot of our neighboring states, New Hampshire, Connecticut, and others are at. So they got to do better. They got to do better at this, and they got to do it much faster.
Gotcha. Understand. Now, one of the things, I was talking about the reluctance in the African American community, and the notion that if those numbers don't increase, that it could be catastrophic. I think one of the things that's not being said, like Dr. Fauci and others are saying, that African Americans need to take it for their health. What they're not saying is that if they can't get enough African Americans to take the vaccine, that the nation as a whole will never get to herd immunity.
Exactly. Yeah. Frankly, this is for everyone, right? We need everybody participating. It's for everybody's health. You can't segment one community versus another. If one community isn't fully vaccinated or isn't sufficiently vaccinated, then every community is at risk. Frankly, it's the same with countries. There was a really compelling article in the New York Times today, or I believe it was maybe the Wall Street Journal, that was saying that actually many very big countries, including big countries like Mexico that border us, are even farther behind us in terms of vaccination. We can't really get the economy re-going again if we don't have broad-based vaccination. And this is actually, I do think, Bishop, connected to the earlier point, because as long as there's scarcity with the doses, and if the state's rollout is not going smoothly, it makes it even harder to get the doses to everyone that needs them, and especially under-resourced or underprivileged communities. The orientation is off, right? Right now, they have an approach of bring people to the vaccine, and I think we need to shift that mindset of bring the vaccine to the people. So right. you need, and actually connecting it to the point you were making about clergy, clergy play a really important role here to play in terms of they're ambassadors for the community, right? And they're community conveners. So utilizing community leaders, utilizing clergy in a common effort to get the dosing out is going to be really important.
Well, see, they what they did realize is, in terms of trusted voices, they did acknowledge that, and they came to clergy. I had a meeting with several other prominent clergy with the Biden administration to utilize our voices to push the vaccine in the African American community. So they realized that, and I'm like, okay, well, what about the clergy being vaccinated?
Yeah. Our talk is cheap, but we need the medicine. No, well taken. But the other thing that I think will be important with this is the mass vaccination sites are important just to get as much out as fast as possible. They do have an important role to play, but it's going to be the community clinics, community doctors, community health providers, school nurses. People, I think, are going to feel more trust about getting the vaccine in a local setting with their local communities, with their health providers that they work with and that they see, day in and day out. So, again, that's really about the mindset of the approach. Is it a sort of mentality of bringing people to the vaccine, or are we going to try to get that vaccine to people? If it's that latter approach, it's really going to be about community clinics. It's going to be mobile sites. That's another item that's been on the agenda. Bringing mobile sites to either neighborhoods or to rural communities that can't access it. That's going to be really important as well. And we have to acknowledge the history of disparate health access and disparate treatment by the medical community to communities of color, acknowledging that and working to fix those inequities moving forward. First you have to acknowledge them is going to be important to this too. And I do think Dr. Fauci, has tried. So we'll see where it goes, but we really do need to do a better job in Massachusetts. I mean, that's the main thing I want to get across to people is we are unfortunately and uncharacteristically falling behind in this particular effort right now. Wow.
All right. What else is happening in the State House?
So aside from vaccine, we've been very focused on the climate bill. Last week, today's Monday, but last week we repassed the climate legislation that we passed, if people remember, back in December that the governor vetoed. So this is a very kind of unusual circumstance. We passed the climate bill. The session ended. The governor vetoed it before we could take it up in the old session. So we have to take it up all over again in the new session. The reason it's particularly, I think, important for us in Springfield and in Western Mass is there are provisions in there related to the biomass facility in Springfield. So we passed that again. And we're now going to be sending it back to the governor. In theory, he's going to send changes back to us, and we'll keep working that process. But that was the big news last week as well. So it was vaccines, and then environment and climate as well.
Gotcha. All right. Hit them up with your contact information.
Yep. So again, if people have questions, they want to reach out to me. Phone number 526-6501, of course, 413 area code, 526-6501. On email, eric.lesser at masenate.gov. I'm also on Twitter at Eric Lesser, Instagram at Eric Lesser MA, and on Facebook, facebook.com/Eric Lesser MA. So lots of different ways to get in touch, but I hope everyone's staying safe. There's snow. Hope everyone gets a chance to enjoy the snow a little bit, not only shoveling.
Enjoy snow. I never. I think the one good thing about the sheltering in place is that, you know, my 20-year-old who's a junior at UMass is home. He's been home the last 2 semesters because he hasn't been on campus, and I can send him out there with the snow.
Yeah. Well, it's good. It's good for him. Builds character. You gotta send him out before sunrise to get the snow cleared.
Absolutely.
But no, that's fun. Well, we'll have to go sledding sometime. That's a great way to enjoy the snow. But hope everybody stays warm, and there's light at the end of the tunnel with the vaccine coming, and but we're gonna have a difficult road to get there. So hope everyone's just staying safe in the meantime.
All right, Senator, always a pleasure.
Thanks. You too, Bishop. Take care.
All right, bye-bye. All right, that was Senator Eric Lesser. You got his contact information, so if you want to connect with the senator, definitely do that. 413-337-1867. Let me do a time check. About 10 minutes left on the spoken word. About 40 minutes left in the program with my streaming audience. So those who are listening on WTCC, if you want to get your calls in, this is a good time to do it. The phone lines are open until show close. 413-337-1867. I talked about the fact that what Dr. Fauci and the others are not saying, is that this concept of herd immunity, which is also referred to as community immunity, is simple. That if not enough people get vaccinated, particularly if not enough African Americans do, then America can't get to herd immunity. And what that is basically when a significant proportion of the population becomes immune from the virus, that the entire population will have some acceptable degree of protection. That immunity can occur through natural immunity or recovery through vaccination. And so that's what they want to do. See, the big lie is the lie of omission. That's what they're not telling you. Will the African American community benefit from the COVID vaccine? That's the question that we need answered. But the full truth is that the country, if it really wants to get to this so-called herd immunity, it needs for Black people, okay, to get vaccinated. They're not going to tell you that because they don't want it to seem like they're trying to force you to do so. They want it to seem like there's some diabolical scheme or something they're trying to do to Black folks because of the history of Tuskegee and Henrietta Lacks and other incidents. So they're soft shoeing that conversation, and they're not saying that, although that's the real deal. That's the real deal. That if you don't get vaccinated, they can't get to herd immunity. That's the real. Okay. 413-337-1867. When you do the math, 70% of people in the United States need to take the vaccine for the population to reach this so-called herd immunity. Can't do it without y'all. Because even if every white person in America got vaccinated, it doesn't get you to 70% of the population. So they need for black folk to get vaccinated. And that's what they won't tell you. That's what they won't tell you. We have right to question the scientific process when and they made a lot of mistakes. I mean, calling it Operation Warp Speed, giving us the impression that you rushed through this for political reasons. That was enough to give people pause, black or white. You know, when they thought you were doing this just to win an election, and that it was rushed through, and all of that. So you cannot blame black folk. You can only blame the history of white supremacy in America for us being where we are right now, and that's real. That's what caused us to be at this impasse where black folk are reluctant to get vaccinated. So listen, I want to invite you to our live stream on Wednesday evenings at 7:30, our midweek live stream. Also, to check out our Sunday worship experience every Sunday at 11 o'clock a.m. We stream live through the various media platforms. So if you're looking for a place to worship, you can go ahead and stream live with us. We'd love to have you be part of our worship experience at the Spring of Hope Church of God in Christ. A lot of stuff happening in the virtual space. Interesting that, you used to put the finger up and tip out of church back in the day. Now you don't have to do that anymore. You can just keep surfing the internet and go on to the next service, and we won't even know that you're gone. But in any case, join us. We'd love to have you. We would absolutely love to have you. My wonder any fathers have gone through this. My daughter finished her certification for gun permit, and she said to me, Dad, I'm going after my gun permit, yada yada yada. So when I do, I want to get one of your guns. I'm like, yeah, okay, whatever. Not thinking she's gonna follow through on it. She finished the class, so of course I'm like, okay, well, when you get the permit, come holler at me. And I'm like, oh boy, Lord help me. All right, people, listen, WTCC audience, it's always a pleasure being with you all here in the Pioneer Valley. Let me see if I haven't been able to get Rep Williams. Let me see if I can get him on the line, because I need what's happening with this flag racing deal. Let's see if we can get him on before we go off the air. We got 3 minutes left on the air on WTCC. We're going to see if we can get the rep on. And he may not be available, but we'll try to get you the information one way or another. All right, can't get the rep on right now. We'll keep trying. Even once we get off the air, we'll keep trying to get the rep on to see what the deal is. My assumption is, based on the weather, that it is going to be postponed, but it is now. Here's the rep. Rep, you're on the air.
Oh, hey, how you doing, Rev?
I'm good. You?
Pretty good.
I was trying to.
sermon yesterday.
Oh, thank you, man. Thank you, man. We got 2 minutes on WTCC. So I was trying to see, is the flag raising postponed? What's the deal?
No, the flag raising, 35th annual Roof Be Loving flag raising is on this morning, City Hall at 1 p.m.
So it's still on.
Still on. We're honoring second vice president of NAACP, Ms. Ida Flynn, with the Roof Be Loving Civil Rights Award for her hard and her dedication work to the civil rights community for a very, very, very long time.
All right.
We will do the flag raising outside.
Mm-hmm.
We're not sure of that. We might have to postpone that. But the actual program, which will be on Springfield, will be on at 1 p.m.
Okay. So it will be on at 1 p.m. Those of you who are listening, it's still going on. Rep, I'm going to go off WTCC. Hold on the line and we'll come right back to you.
Okay.
So as usual, those who are listening on WTCC, always a pleasure being with you. And until the next time I talk to you and you talk to me, always remember, God loves you and so do I. All right. Welcome back. Those who are yet streaming with us, kicking it with us on Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, and all over the place. We're off the air on WTCC, but we're still kicking it with you for the next half hour. So I got the state rep on the line. He was telling us about the event today. Go ahead, Rep.
It's the, Dr. Ruth B. Loving, the mother of civil rights in the city of Springfield, started the Black Flag celebration of Black History Month, February 1st. So every year for the past 35 years, we've raised the flag. She went on she transitioned out of here a few years ago and asked if my wife, Dr. Gloria Williams, and myself would accept the challenge of making sure that flag is raised every February 1st, no matter rain, snow, sleet, or shine. That black flag is raised. So we have the honor of raising that flag this afternoon at 1 o'clock with a program which you are part of. And on the program, we'll be honoring the second vice president of the NAACP, Ida Flynn, with the Ruth B. Loving Civil Rights Leadership Legacy Award. You will accept that on behalf of Dr. Flynn, who has done great work within NAACP for many, many, many years, has been on the forefront for racial equality and for justice, and work within our church community. So we didn't think it'd be robbery to acknowledge her at this particular time.
Correct. Matter of fact, I just when you swore me in on MLK's birthday, I just surpassed her as the longest serving president of the NAACP. Prior to that, she was the longest serving, having served 5 terms. Being sworn into my 6th term, I surpassed Ida Flynn, who is our first vice president. So I'd be more than honored to accept that on her behalf. As you stated, she's been on the forefront for many, 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 many years, and thankful that she just got through suffering with COVID, and we know that at her age it's very dangerous. But thankfully, she had the strength to survive it, and so we're so proud that she'll be receiving this award.
Okay, brother. So we will see you. Well, while I have you, you mind if I make one more announcement?
Go right ahead.
We have started in the Old Hill community, the Mason Square Old Hill community, Upper Hill community, Bay neighborhood, and the McKnight. We will be doing Corona-19 testing
All right.
at Rebecca Johnson, 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. to 3 p.m. on Tuesday, which is tomorrow, February 2nd, and every subsequent Tuesday after that. And if we get good traction and good participation, we will extend another day for testing. Now, we're all excited about the vaccine, which I really am excited about the vaccine, but until everyone is vaccinated and we get 80% to 90% herd immunity, we need to have masks, and we need to continue to test in our community. And I'm drafting, and I did get your letter. I'm going to put a letter together, and I agree with you that the clergy folks should be. I consider you in the front line, and you should. Most clergy people should have the vaccine as one of the early participants. And the other piece, Bishop, I'll be writing a letter to the governor. What I'm suggesting, when the vaccines are available, that we can have to just participate in vaccine. We have the community centers participate. We have people can go door to door, house to house, because we have to make this vaccine available and make it easy for folks within our community to get the vaccine. If you're going to take it, if you're not going to take it, that's up to you. But if you're going to take it, we need to make it where it's very, very convenient and easy. And, we just opened our site at Eastfield Hall for vaccines. Eastfield Hall is probably 5 miles from the heart of the Black community. Mm-hmm. And I don't know how many miles from the north end, which is downtown, probably another 8 miles. That's a long way. And a lot of people don't have they don't have transportation, they don't have cars. They're not going to walk in below zero weather, snow. We got a little bit of work to do. So I'm very happy and excited that we continue to be on the forefront, and especially you. I know you've been on the forefront since this dreaded disease, dreaded pandemic has started. We're going to continue to be vigilant, going to continue to hope and pray and fight. But we need masks, and we need to test until people decide to take the vaccine or not.
Certainly, absolutely. All right, we appreciate the work you're doing, and we'll see you a little later this afternoon.
Okay.
All right.
And I got to talk to you too, because me and Uncle Ben got to figure out how we can get some calls on our radio program.
All right, we'll hook you up.
Okay.
All right. 413-337-1867. 413-337-1867 is the number here for those who want to get in on the radio program. Listen, so Biden has been signing executive orders. He has been signing executive order after executive order after executive order. And let me tell you, my brothers and my sisters, some of them are some good orders, some things that are needed. But here's my problem. Once again, my problem is black folk are the ones who got him into office. There ain't no executive orders about reparations. Ain't no executive orders about the extrajudicial murder of black people and holding police accountable for profiling black folk. And there are no executive orders. Whenever there's something that contains black folk, it also contains everybody else. Everybody in their mama. The LGBTQIABCDEFG. I mean, the disabled, Pacific Islanders, Native Americans, this, that, and I'm not saying that those categories don't need to be protected, et cetera, but why are black folk always lumped in with everybody else? There are no issues that are germane to black people that he can look out for, especially since we're the ones who gave you Wisconsin, Pennsylvania, Michigan, and Georgia to ensure that you got the presidency. Let me read some of these executive orders and let you know who he's hooking up. Okay. I mean, he signed a bunch of them. He signed a memorandum that froze the approval of rules passed in the final days of the Trump presidency. He signed an executive order rejoining the Paris Agreement on climate change. He signed an executive order to promote racial equity, and that's the one people keep pointing to. Oh, Bishop, he signed a racial equity one. That one says, for those who have been historically underserved, marginalized, adversely affected by persistent poverty and inequality, and it contains about 27 different demographic groups. It is not specific to black people. Stop thinking every time you see racial equity. Matter of fact, some of the categories in there, it ain't even about race. When you talk about LGBTQ and transgender and disabled, that's not about race. That has nothing to do with racial equity. But all of that is included in that executive order. He signed a proclamation ending the ban on U.S. entry from Muslim countries. He signed one requiring mask wearing on federal property. He signed one coordinating a government-wide COVID-19 response. He signed one revising immigrant enforcement policy. He signed one undoing regulatory restrictions on federal agencies. He signed one incorporating undocumented immigrants into the census. I mean, he's hooking up the undocumented in the immigrant population, for sure. He signed one banning discrimination on the basis of gender identity or sexual orientation. He's taking care of gender fluid folks and of the LGBT folks. He signed one mandating ethics pledge for government appointees. Signed a proclamation pulling funds from Trump's border wall. He signed one pausing federal student loan payments. One reinstating deferred enforced departure for Liberians. Signed one strengthening deferred action for childhood arrival. One promoting COVID-19 safety in domestic and international travel. One expanding access to 19 treatments. Signed one promoting data-driven responses to COVID-19. And all those are important about COVID-19. He signed one supporting states' use of the National Guard. He signed one strengthening public health supply chain. One establishing a health equity task force. One reopening and continuing operation of schools. One promoting workplace safety amid the pandemic. One establishing a pandemic testing board. One expanding food assistance program. An executive order assisting veterans that have debt. One guaranteeing unemployment insurance for workers who refuse work due to COVID-19. Let's see. A lot of COVID-19 ones. He signed an executive order reversing transgender military bans. He signed one promoting a Buy America agenda. Signed one to end reliance on private prisons. He signed one reaffirming a commitment to tribal sovereignty. That's for Native Americans. Okay. He signed one denouncing anti-Asian discrimination. Anti-Asian discrimination. Nothing about anti-black discrimination. Asians didn't give him, and I'm not saying that's not important. Don't get it twisted. But Asians didn't give him Wisconsin, Georgia, Michigan, and Pennsylvania. Last time I checked, it was black folk who did that. But everybody's getting something out of these executive orders except for the folk who put him in office. See, this is my problem, Democrats. You say we're not as bad as the Republicans. We got to get them out of office. And when we get them out, then we'll talk about your agenda. And then in the first week that Biden is in office, he's hooking up Asians and transgenders and the LGBT and Native Americans and the disabled and everybody but black folks. A memorandum on scientific integrity, an executive order reestablishing Presidential Council on Science and Technology, one reinforcing Medicaid and the Affordable Care Act, one expanding access to reproductive health care. Nothing specifically for black people. Nothing specifically for black people. How long does the Democratic Party think it could continue to hook everybody up but the black folk that put them in office, and for us to maintain loyal to them? How long does it think it can continue to do this? I mean, for real, seriously. I mean, this is crazy. This is nuts. Look for the purple banana before they put us in the truck. Come on, let's go. Seriously. I watched Purple Rain the other night. Oh, boy. I mean, at some point in time, you think he might want to do something specifically for black people. Just a little something, something. Little something, something. Little something, something. Just a little, just a little bitty something, something for the people who got you in office, Democrats, a little bitty bit. For the black people who are in office, maybe, perhaps, I want to, look out for us. I'm just saying. I'm just wondering. That's all. Just wondering. Oh, boy. What do we as black people do? We got to start holding them accountable and stop just blindly exchanging our votes for nothing. Because I think that's what they got 4 years in office, but if If the 4 years, if the first week is an indication of the 4 years, black folk gonna be sorely disappointed. Black people gonna be sorely disappointed. Mm-mm-mm-mm. And that's sad. That is sad. Good morning to you all. Good morning to you all. Good morning to you all. Yeah, get the information on that vaccine. Get the intel. Get the intel. There's a forum coming up. The president of Bay State and the ladies of Delta Sigma Theta later on this month. I'd encourage you to tune into that and all of the forums that are giving you information on it. You want to get the intel. Let's see. Let's see. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning, cousin Lisa. Y'all having y'all own private conversations around here. Oh boy. Our power is our vote. Yeah, and if we just keep trading it in and getting nothing in return, then we don't have a whole lot of power. Now you're right. A lot of Latinos love Trump in Florida, mostly Cubans. A lot of them think they're white for a reason. You're right. They voted in much higher rates. Latino population, 35% of them went with Trump. Black people don't need the vaccine. I will just wear my mask. Just make an informed decision, brother. That's all I'm asking. But I think you can only speak for yourself. Only speak for yourself. Executive order. What are you saying? For police? Yeah, I mean, just something for black people, right? Something. That's all. I mean, we just the people who got you in office. That's all I'm saying. Just a little something for the people who got you in office. I don't think that's too much to ask. Especially when, I mean, they're willing to give something to every other demographic group. I'm like, come on, man. Can we get a little hookup too? 8 minutes left. 8 minutes left in the program. Let me pull up one of my boys' songs. You know, I gotta play at least one of my son's songs. Y'all need to check out his music once again. T'_SWAN, T Swan. Check him out. This one is called No Hook. Anywhere you stream music, you can check it out. We'll be right back after this. Don't go nowhere.
Yo, how should I come in? I ain't doing the work. Give them something fresh up. A verse out of my notebook. Regardless of it in, I'm a hidden gem. And a monster with a pen. I remember looking up to not common Eminem. Kanye and Sean Carter made me rhyme harder, but I ain't acting hard. Balls on deck, I'm pulling all these rappers' cards. You don't want to battle, dog. You don't have to bars. I got in my catalog. I never slacking off. I never front, but I acting off. Good thing this fire, cause I'm coming at them raw. I got more in store, like I'm at a mall. When I'm working, I don't chat at all. Before I had a call, I knew I would travel far. And everything I ever wanted, I'm gonna have it all. Making a lot of blue faces like Avatar. $1 billion flow. You may not know about me, but I'm still a problem, no. Life is getting nuts, it's a rocky road. On the run like a snotty nose. Till someone everybody knows. Our body flows, got a lot of those. I'm not a gimmick and I'm not a troll. All my fans say I gotta blow. Great eight balls, I'm on a roll. On fire like marijuana roll. It's room in the bandwagon if you wanna roll. But it's gonna be a long ride to where I'm trying to go. I could have made a hook for this, but I wanted to rap. I heard the beat and I knew I had to body the track. Going so hard, they tell me that I gotta relax. A lot of rappers, but a lot of them whack. When I go to the studio and I hop on the track, I'm making my house like I'm paying the property tax. My whole life I've been at where I'm at. I ain't gassed up, so I don't need a pat on the back. Even though it's hard because I'm rapping on black, but I'm a talented cat. Matter of fact, I'm a beast with it. I'm gonna always be different. I hear different, see different. 2020 almost over. You still got weak vision. What the streets missing, and I'ma keep hitting. They can't compete with them. Not even if you had 3 wishes, cause I'm in another league with it. In my team vicious, we geniuses. You getting washed like clean linens. Me written since I was 15, spitting. In the cut, trying to get up on the scene with it. I'm always putting in work cause I make business. Yeah.
All right, y'all. I gotta go. So once again, the Black History Month celebration flag raising will take place at Springfield City Hall today. Limited in the number of people who can be there because of COVID restrictions, but it will be streaming live from the city's page, from the city's City of Springfield Office of Communications page. So check it out. Ida Flynn, first vice president of the Greater Springfield NAACP, will be receiving the Ruth B. Loving Award. I will accept on her behalf. Longtime civil rights advocate, 10-year president of the Greater Springfield NAACP. So we're proud of this recognition for our first vice president. So check that out as it live streams today. And you ought to become a member. If you're in the 413 and you're not a member, membership is $30 a year. Come on, y'all. $30 a year. Go to our website, naacpspringfield.org. Check out membership. Click, you can PayPal your $30 and get your membership to support the branch. All right? Do that, my brothers, my sisters. I got to get out your way. Until the next time I talk to you and you talk to me. Always remember, God loves you, and so do I. I'm out. Peace.